Hello everybody, welcome to our first Tarot Jam of 2018. We made it! We made it to 2018. We're here. Woohoo! Thank you so much for taking your time out this evening to join me and fellow tarot members, or tarot community members, to talk tarot, to look at our join this community. So I've got a bunch of questions that members have sent in, and if you have anything you would like to talk about, you can absolutely, if you feel inspired, ask questions. So yeah, we got lots and lots to cover. So shall we, how was everyone's, I'm going to ask anyway, how was everyone's New Year? How was the holiday period? Because we haven't done a jam since the last one back in December. Everyone was pretty good. Great. Big thumbs up for a good New Year. Okay, cool. Anyone get any decks off their wish list over the New Year, over Christmas and stuff? Yeah. See, I was sick too, Margot. I had a cold all the way through it's the worst. Renee, yes, the Lioness Oracle Tarot. Joshua, Spirit Within Tarot, and my first ever rune set. Oh yeah. Renee Smith, the Wild Unknown. Sweet. Okay. Nancy got the Fountain Tarot. Ooh, pretty. Margot, Next World, Anima Monday. Oh, my Next World is in my drawer. It's in my tarot drawer. I've got to wait to have some time to do the unboxing. Joshua saying, you gave a lot of decks away. They found new homes. I'm going to be doing that at the Northwest Tarot Symposium. I'm taking a bunch of decks with me for the giveaway, the swap table. Time to let some of them flutter off. Okay, so a question that came in last time that I don't think we covered, which I think is a really, really good question. Is one topic this comes in from Stephanie. One topic I'd like to discuss is tarot spreads, how to use them, and tips for remembering the placement or value, etc. So I am happy to sort of talk about my thing on tarot spreads, and then we can open the floor to others to join in. I create a lot of tarot spreads. I've got ebooks and stuff. I've got a ton of them on my website. I also create custom tarot spreads for my clients. So when someone books a reading with me, based on their specific situation and what their needs and requirements are, I will create the tarot spread for them. And when I do that, I will actually, because it's new every time, I will write it down in front of me so that I don't forget, because I've designed it on the fly, in the moment. When I was working at fairs and doing like face-to-face readings, I have a number of spreads that I know by heart and by memory. What you can do, and then finally, there are times when I don't use spreads at all. Sometimes I go free ball and I free fall with the cards. It does depend on the situation. A tip that I found that can be very, very helpful for memorizing the position and layout is to have a cloth that may have indicators on it. So you can get or lay out like cardboard. They used to come in a lot of tarot packs from Llewellyn. Does anyone else have an old like Celtic Cross poster? I got like 5 or 6 of them from back in the day when it used to actually come in kits. So those can be helpful. A mat with the same thing can be very helpful, but it's also limiting because you can't really use it for anything else. Or you can use something like the Deck of 1,000 spreads where you can lay them out and then go over them. And as for importance or value, I kind of see them all as like they all work together. They're all pieces of a tarot reading, of a tarot jigsaw puzzle, as it were. So I think they're all important. Would anyone else like to share what they do with like spreads or?
Like you, it's can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I have a couple that I can kind of remember, just off the top of my head, the basic couple, just a few cards for the spread. But I do the same, like I like to do custom spreads for the specific reading, just based on whatever the seeker's question is. And I do the same. I write it all out and just have it in front of me because, it changes every time, like you said. I really like, I've seen those, the mats and stuff before. I really like those, but I've never bought one because it's like, yeah, then it's only good for that one spread. And I'm like, money's too tight for that right now. So, maybe at some point I'll get some of those, but I like the concept of them, but like I don't need it right now.
My big thing about tarot mats as well is that like I usually fold up all my mats and my bags and everything into a drawer, and they all end up being like wrinkled, and I'm such a little bit OCD about it. So when they come out and it's wrinkled, I'm like, like it does my head in. So I find that that's really hard. The Star Child Tarot one that I got many moons ago is quite nice because it's canvas. It's rolled up. But yeah, they are limiting, and that's probably why they're not super popular. Yeah.
I usually like to write. I write mine down. I actually have a separate journal where I'll write just any spread that I find that either I want to try or have tried and works, and like kind of keep a little note on it. So I'm getting a nice little collection. It is hard to like remember all of them though, I think. All the time, but you might have to think too, like if you're going to sit down, obviously if you sit down with somebody for whom you've read before, you might prep for that in that way, like, oh, this might be good for their question if you know it ahead of time. But I've just been trying to like, in any way, shape, or form, I'll even like print it out and like paste it in my notebook or something just to remember it. But I think too, like the more you do them as well, the more you kind of internalize it. That's just my thought.
Well, and then what's the problem with being wrong? Like, what if you make this, like, you have the spread or this glorious spread, and then you get in there and you just, like, totally forget, like, what it is, and what's the problem if you just make it up as you go? Like, you're a tarot reader. Like, believe in yourself. Believe in your own power. Just make it up. Like, go with the moment, If you know what the general idea is, if it's based off of something like the chakras or based off of the elements or something like that, then you can kind of go with that flow, kind of base it off of that as you go. But then, like, if it's the Celtic Cross, and you're like, I can't remember if this is this or that is that, go with it. Just do whatever you need to do, boo. Get the reading done.
Oh, I love you, Jordan. Oh, it's funny. Exactly. You don't get dinged for errors. And the other thing is as well is that if you've got something that is like really good to build on, like say a lot of people will struggle with the Celtic Cross because it's like when you, maybe not the center, the crossing, the 1, 2, 3, 4, but the up the side, it's like which one's environment, which one's external forces, which one's hopes and fears. well, you know, that's why like I pared it down. And for me, it makes so much sense because, and this is probably because, well, not probably, it is because of my Wiccan and witchy background that I do center, so situation, and then north, south, east, west. North, what is crowning, what is earth, you know, well, you know, oh, and then south, depending on what pole I was at, what pole I was in. South, what is fire, what is underneath, what is burning underneath it. Then east, west, so it's like mind, body, spirit, soul. You can, there's lots of things you can do like to branch it off if you just keep it simple to begin with. The same with a 3-card spread. Like learn a couple of 3-card ones, and then if you get that down pat, you're like, where you are, where you're going, how you're going to get there, and then you can be like, oh, I want to now build on that. Like, what's the next action to take? Well, that's great. Now you just turn it into a 4-card spread. Or what are some of my challenges? Great. Now it's a 5-card spread, but you've gone off of a really good, simple foundation, so you're not overwhelming yourself to be like, oh fuck, like I need to learn like 10 positions. It's like, no man, learn some like really cool 3-card ones and then build on it as the situation requires you to do so. That's just my opinion anyway. Josh?
Yeah, I think the 3-card thing, I just wanted to say that is like a wonderful just foundation to have, is to have all those different 3-card spreads, because, you know, they're easy to learn. Honestly, do they vary that much in terms of layout? No. And so if you just know a few of them, you can build so much off of that. And it's just kind of like, for me, like the metaphor I usually use when I explain why I do that is that it's like, you know, you don't jump into the ocean you start at the beach where it's a little bit, you know, you start there in the shallow end and then you get deeper. And so it's just nice to start them in that way. Once you've got that, you've got such a good jumping off point into so many different areas. Then you can get into those more Pinteresty, interesting, complex spreads as you need them. And like if you've talked with the client ahead of time, you can kind of come in prepared for that. But if not, you can still just build off of what those 3 cards tell you. Absolutely. And so it's a wonderful starting point.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of my other favorite practices, like, so here getting some few tips here, is to do like a 3-card or a 5, so the central position, and then what's kind of going on around that person, and it depends on what it is. But then what you can do is do more of a storytelling one where you're flipping over a few to see like what's going to unfold with all of this in mind is what's going to happen moving forward. So it is really, and that's why I guess one of the things I say to beginners is you don't need to confuse yourself. Like it's better to like start simple and get really comfortable with the foundation that you've got and learn how to build from there, then be like, I've got an encyclopedia of tarot spreads and I have to memorize 78 cards and then their reversals if you're doing reversals and all these tarot spreads and how they all combine and or how they all work together. It's like, well, your head will just like explode. And Alex said, weirdly, I do 1-card readings on Sundays on Facebook, and it's weird how I get a lot of information out of 1 card. And that's totally true too. You can get a ton of information out of just 1 card.
Yeah, I'll say that some of the best advice that I ever got with learning tarot, because I'm still fairly new with it, was that you don't have to learn these giant, 10, 15 card spreads. Like, start with 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can get, so much out of that and just, kind of build your base off of that. And then once you're comfortable, you can, do whatever. But yeah, the best advice that I got for learning tarot was you don't have to worry about learning all these giant, spreads.
And I love Joshua just said, and it bears repeating for those people who are watching the replay. Your client is not impressed by the layouts and spreads. They just want answers, man. And it's so true. It's like tarot may be the vehicle in which you get to the city, but you got to get to the city, man. Like, and that's why I've got no problem answering clients I do predictive tarot. And I'll also, if someone has asked me something that's more of a yes or no, I'm going to give them a full answer around that as well. But I'm going to answer their questions. Like that's what if you're a paid tarot reader, if you're a professional, then that's kind of like, that's what people are coming to you for. And so, yeah. What we got more? Okay, cool. So next question. Thank you everyone so much for all of that gloriousness. Okay, so next question is, oh, this is going to be an interesting one. You ready for it? This comes from Nicholas. When do readers prefer a pip deck over a non-pip or fully illustrated pip deck? Is there an advantage, or what is the advantage to working with one or the other? Saucy.
I think I can tackle this one. For me, you know, with some sort of pictorial deck, it is normally like able to, you can really delve into the imagery, and that's really like the benefit of using that. I think it's a little bit more kind to the intuition, I guess I'll say. Whereas a pip deck for me is when I get to just live in the traditional meanings of the tarot, and it took a while for me to, you know, because we would talk a lot about how to read tarot intuitively. And it took me a while to say, but I can just use the traditional meanings too, if that's what I really want. I can use a pip deck and I can just say, these are what I know about the traditional meanings. Let me link these themes together, and then let me go that way, instead of necessarily delving into the image and seeing what happens in the image and what's really, am I getting out of that. I can say, I'm not going to do any of that, not today. I just want this to be straight. Here's the meaning. Here's the other meaning. How do they tie together? How can I get even deeper with that? You know, it's a different way of working with the intuition, rather than necessarily an imagery-based one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Joshua offers non-pips are better for visual learners, and clients who are less initiated. Pips work better for when that systematic structure is best. And I sort of love pips though. I have more fully illustrated decks than I do pips. And I would say the only reason why I prefer fully illustrated is because they're prettier. But then I guess you could probably look at even my deck as being quite minimal. So yeah, for me it is a lot more of the like, well, you've got to do some learning. You got to do some learning when it comes to like pip decks, and be able to go like, okay, well that means that. And then there's also a lot of people I found who do use a lot of pip decks is their ties to numerology, and knowing what their numbers, and if there's like, say you get like four fours, so you get 3 of the suits of 4, and you also get the emperor, then that is going to hold more weight on the number of 4. So I found that there's more of that, even though I would probably look at that as a layer of my readings, but that's maybe because of my pip learning, I don't know. I mean, but I learned with the Rider-Waite Smith, but I will switch it up depending on what deck I kind of want to use. And even some fully illustrated ones, like say for example the Star Child Tarot, I have 2 editions of that, but I find that I don't get, for me it's still a pip deck in a way, because it's not overtly like illustrated. It's very pretty, there's a lot of design there, but it's not fully illustrated in a way. It's like that one that's the 5 of Pentacles and it's just a hallway with 5 pentacles. That's pretty pippish. So even decks are like kind of blurring the line there. Yeah, almost abstract. Thank you, Joshua. The brain ain't working. It's been a long day. So yeah, like and then you get other decks like say Sky Sages with like the Hermetic Tarot, where there's a lot of, and if you look at the Hermetic Tarot, there's a lot of symbols like ingrained in like that fine work. Thoth is like that too, sort of pseudo pippy, totally true. So I found pippy is so a word. We are claiming it to be a word today. I found that learning whatever deck you feel most attracted to is the best way to go. But I also have found for me, because I am a visual learner, and because I use the imagery in the cards to sync in with my clairsentience, clairaudience, and clairvoyance, I much prefer to work with a more illustrated deck. And for example, like the Wild Unknown is another one that's pseudo Pippi, and I like get nothing from that deck, like nothing. Like I think it is beautiful. I think that Kim's artwork is stunning, but I can't look at that deck and I'm like, well, I'd have to just go on my pips for that, like on my actual like memory, my rote knowledge of the cards, versus like me being able to dive into, say, a card that is the Victorian Romantic Tarot, where it's got a beautiful scene where you can actually see how those scenes are maybe interacting with each other, or you can intuitively feel how that person would be feeling in that situation. The Druidcraft is another one. It's like, it's so rich that you could be like, how would I be feeling if I was in that environment? Or how, like the body language, like this is a thing that I would defend the Rider-Waite-Smith until my death. This is the thing about the Rider-Waite-Smith, everything was thought out. The body language, where they're looking, the shoulders down, the head up, looking to the one way or the other or straight on. Everything is has been thought out. So that's why that means a lot, because if you have a deck that is just like 4 pentacles, that's great. But if you look at the 4 pentacles and the Rider-Waite-Smith, they're like holding on, like it's like that closing of the heart chakra, the head, the crown chakra, the feet, like everything is like supporting this very closed in nature. So for me, as you can tell, I'm very emphatically saying that I prefer the more illustrated ones, because it helps me get more in touch with the empathic and intuitive side of making that tarot be about what's going on for the client. Does that make sense? Anyone else want to like jump in there, or was that just me going on a rant?
I agree. I'm very intuitive with my readings. And yeah, so I like having a lot of the imagery in the card. When I get a card that, yeah, there's very little in it, I totally go blank. I'm like, I get, yeah, like you said, I get nothing, from that. Because yeah, I look at like everything in the card. Yeah, the faces, the posture, what's in the background, what's in the foreground, all that kind of stuff. And that's really what I pick up on, more than just like, the book meaning of the card.
Totally, and it's the layers, right? It's all about the layers. Alex is saying I'm full on psychic, and the images triggers for me. One of my mentors is saying I need to give them up and just go with it. Well, if it ain't broke, I don't know. I don't feel like it's like using anything that is a key to opening your intuition as a crutch or whatever. But that's just me. Did anyone else want to jump in there, or shall we move on to the next question?
Oh, I was just gonna follow up and say with that I find using my cards comforting, and I also find that they lend themselves to helping with context. Because if somebody comes and says, well, I want to know about my love life, and I'm like, well, what exactly do you mean by that? Right? Or I want to know about this man, and you're like, are you dating him? Are you living with him? Have you broken up? So there's this wide range, and I find the tarot cards just make that context much more relevant. It's like specifically relevant. So that's why I'm reluctant to give them up. Plus, I just like the way they look.
I also think there's something to there's something to have, like having a tool. Like you wouldn't like ask a carpenter to like come and build you some shelves and be like, bitch, you can't use that hammer. Like you'd be like, no, like give the people their tarot deck. Like if that's what they got to use, if that's what they want to use, I think that's absolutely fine. And sometimes, and I'm sure there are many people who are going to nod in agreement with this, sometimes it's just the ritual of getting in the zone with your cards, and then everything, like I've had readings where like my guides and my messages are coming as I'm like reading a client's information. Like I usually ask my clients for their date of birth and their name so that I know I'm reading for the right person when it's remotely, and then some context. And the reason I do that is because I start to see things straight away. And so I'm like, fuck, now we're going to get on with the reading because it's like it's coming already. So it's not like you need it, but it's like, well, it gives you a lot more to go on. And we are a animal of habit, and ritual is a really good habit, right? Like, so even if that ritual of using the cards is something that just opens that gateway for you, I think that's completely 100% fine. Like, sure, work without it if you don't need to, but yeah. I
found if I've been booked for a mediumship reading, that the moment that booking happens, the spirit person is immediately there, and I've had to have conversations that go like, I appreciate you coming early, I appreciate the information you're giving me, but could we postpone this until the person you actually want to talk to is in front of me? And that seems to work, because immediately that booking happens and bang, they're right there. It's just, but I love my cards. I do.
You're in good company. Skaha, hello.
For me, I like the visual cards. Maybe it's my dyslexia, but the pips really just make my head hurt a bit more. Like the more that's in there, it's easier to look at, but also even if I'm just doing 3 cards out, they don't always land just straight in order because I'm always twitching a little bit or I'm distracted, and the way the different images kind of, hey, this time this 3-card spread with those same cards, but the cards are overlapping this time and it covered up some of the picture, and that actually really does change it for me and takes me into that whole start to see things and yeah, a little dyslexia works in there too, where the images start to swim, even though they're not numbers or letters, they'll swim on themselves, even just being images, which is really weird. But so it really does help seeing the images, because there's things you can read, even if it's some weird dragon deck, the art in there, something in there can trigger some stuff that's there.
Absolutely. And can I just say that I have definitely had readings where I have had a pip deck in front of me, like been using a pip deck, and I've actually gone like, oh, fuck, that's not the 8, that's the 9. Because sometimes it's like, I'm like, and I don't want to stop the flow of my reading to fucking count wands. Like, I really don't. Like, that is not what I want to be doing, to be like 1, 2, or like sometimes like, oh, fuck, that Roman numeral like wasn't, right, because the printer or the print didn't make that number stand out very well, and I gotta fucking like figure it out. Like, I don't want to be wasting my time with that. Like, I want to know, like, I know when I turn the cards and it's like the black hood and the cups, like, bam, we're on the 5 of cups, right? Like, there's no, or the body language in another deck that has a similar feeling. I don't know. But like, I just don't want you to feel, I feel you on that, because I've literally like had to be like, fuck, is that like the 7 or the when it comes to pip decks? It's easier when they're laid out like the Marseille, when you know that every pip deck has a similar layout, like the 2s look like that, then the 3s built like that, the 4s built like that. But then when you get decks that don't follow kind of like a Marseille outlay of the pips, you're like, oh fuck, I don't know. What's like, let's pick, when you do like the pick up sticks or something, it's like, yeah, let's sit around counting ones. Like, yeah, anyway. But it is different if you have a pattern that you know, which is like the Marseille has a specific pattern that they use on every one of them. But yeah, it's a lot easier when you can eliminate anything that takes you off or deters you away from getting the reading done, for sure. Cuckoo. Another cool question. Anyone here So this is from Amy. So she loves Penny Dreadful. I'm sure there's a lot of people on here who do. And Vanessa Ives' character. What do you think of decks like the Penny Dreadful Tarot, as the assigned meanings are very different from traditional meanings? So basically we're looking at anyone here who's got non-traditional decks, fan or not, they can be pop culture or not, that they use regularly that are completely outside of a more traditional deck. So how do you use them? What do you like about them? Have you used them and gone, nah? Anyone here? I don't have the Penny Dreadful Tarot, so I think it's pretty because it's purple, but I don't have it. Leah?
I don't have Penny Dreadful. I do have a non-traditional. I consider it non-traditional. The Spirit Speak, reversed. Actually, she made the black on white and then the white on black, which is the one that I have. And I wanted it because I just thought it was so unique. And honestly, like, I just like to support like the artistry, if not for anything else. But what I did find was I found a very specific use for it. So for me, usually when one of the Mercury retrogrades comes around, I use it for that. I found it works. I usually do just like a 3-card spread just to say, okay, how are we navigating this one? So, and I think it worked. It just all kind of melded together because like it's Mercury retrograde, the deck's kind of non-traditional, and it's actually like reversed. So, you know, I think if you can kind of connect with your deck that way and see, like, celebrate whatever quirkiness it is or has, like, you can kind of find its niche for even a very specific reading if you like to do that. Just a thought.
I love that. I think it's so cool, like having a deck that's a bit out there and or like different, and using it during a time that's the communication tends to be a little bit like woohoo. That's rad, man. I like that.
Yeah.
So Joshua, did you want to talk a little bit about how you use them like Oracle decks, or did you just wander off?
That's not a problem. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of non-traditional decks, and I guess what are we considering a non-traditional? Like a deck where someone has or changed a lot of the major arcana, for example. I consider that to be a non-traditional, and I do use a lot of those, or they'll add extra elements, and it's like you have to take it at, you have to kind of, I don't know, take it at face value, I guess. And take what you feel from it, and is going to be the biggest thing, unless you're really strictly following the guidebook that comes with it. Because I feel like with these decks, a lot of times these changes and these additions are made with a very specific alteration to the base system in mind by the person who created it. And if that's what you want to use, then yeah, go ahead. Great. But if you don't want to stick to that strictly, you're kind of deciding at that point, okay, I'm going to kind of meet them in the middle and use what I already am intuiting and what I already know and kind of do my own thing with it. At which point, to me, it's almost like more like an oracle reading. You're the one kind of creating the new symbolism and the personal context for it. And that's fine too, I think. I don't think we have an obligation to use a deck in any particular way and to anyone's expectations. So if it works for you, and that's kind of how I'll do it, where if I see something that's changed and it doesn't really, I'm not a real huge fan of it, I'm like, okay, I get that that's the point you wanted to make, and I'll keep that in mind, but I'm going to go ahead and go with what I see here, whether it be the image and the visual, or whether it be a traditional correspondence there, or whatever. But I usually kind of, if it's really, really out there, there's one in particular, like the Tarot of the Cosmos, where they've got it assigned to all these different constellations, and it's gorgeous deck, love it. But it's almost like its own thing, and so they have their own meanings that they've assigned to it, but like it's almost just like I've got to go with intuition strictly, because otherwise I feel like I'm following someone else's system rather than what I've learned and what I'm seeing.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And that's I agree with a lot of what you just said. Okay, question. All right, this comes from Alex, who is on the call. Does anyone use an app to do readings? Does anyone use tarot apps at all? I know for me, I've only ever used the Fool's Dog apps to kind of like look at a few tarot decks. I don't know if it's like weird or not, but I don't actually have any tarot apps on my phone. I do have some on my iPad, but I don't on my phone. Maybe it's because I always have a tarot deck or 7 in my bag. But has anyone been using apps or find it helpful? Or I'm probably going to always love the ritual of holding my cards and getting in the zone and like all that kind of stuff. So
I have one for universal weight, and I'll be honest, I had it on probably more actually when I was doing the certification, because it was just instant. Like and now I would say more often than not, I too usually have a deck or something in my purse, so that, like, we're good. But if I was somewhere where I didn't like feel like I wanted to like whip out my cards, I was just like on my phone or whatever, and it just kind of helped me just remember, just refresh or whatever. I don't really do spreads on it. You can actually, but for me it was more like a way to study or just kind of still be connected to it. But yeah, agreed. I mean, I love it, and I love that you can do that or that's available, but it's never going to take the place of the actual cards for me. So, but handy, super handy.
right, like, you know what I used to do? I used to, because this was before everyone had iPhones, I used to have like read my witchy books on the bus on the way to school inside another book, because we didn't have ebooks back then.
Right.
But I totally get like being able to like almost like a study tool or a study refresher, and having it always kind of like there. That's cool. I like that idea for sure.
Hi. I hope you are hearing me fine.
Yep.
Okay. I'm a traditional reader. I'm with the Marseille deck. I do my grand tableau every time I get a person in front of me. I do my grand tableau because I'm more for the traditional reading. Okay. I'm now 1 year to now, I'm incorporating more other cards in my readings, because everything is going to be so, the person is always excited when they come in front of you. But for me, an app, no. I have always my cards in my hands. I like to shuffle them. I like to feel them. I'm in love with the spirituality and the thing you shuffle and you feel the cards shivering in your hands. For me, that's the love I have, and that's why I don't go for the apps. But I feel you have to have it in your hands to feel it, to engage with it, to let your mind blow by it. And no, I don't use those apps. I like to see. I like to see them use it, but no, for me personally, I don't. I'm more for the traditional ways, and I'm more in the witchy kind of way. And that's my thing. That's my love and my passion, yes.
I'm the same way though too, and I think a lot of people who use the cards as a a partner or a tool, like Joshua said. I need the cards to connect to. They're real. They're a partner. For me as well, like it is a lot about the ritual, about the sacred space, about holding that space. And it's also for me too to like get in the zone, and then I want to be able to like pick the card up or like move it around. And I think the apps are great. Like if you, again, they can be great for just like quickly doing it, or a study partner, or like just having a look at different cards in a different deck to see whether you want to purchase it or not. But for me, it's like, yeah, I'm the same way. I definitely feel that way. So whatever works for people, right? Like I would never like, I couldn't even get my head around if like a friend of mine was like, can you do a reading for me? I would never hand them my phone and be like, here's a tarot app. Like I would like, no, like my head, like I just couldn't even think about doing that. Nope.
Well, I agree. I like having the cards in my head. Yeah, there's just something, the energy and everything, there's something about having them in your hand. Yeah, I agree with everything y'all said. But I did when I was actually working outside the home, and I didn't take my cards with me. So I was hesitant to use the app, but I was like, there's sometimes you just like, you just like feel like you need to draw a card, So I did try a couple different apps, a couple different styles, and I was actually really surprised at I guess the good, how good the reading, was, the card that came up and everything. But I agree, it can't take the place of actually having the deck in your hand.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, everybody. And I've also got another really great question to ask everyone. This comes from Jamie. Has anyone felt compelled to take a break from the tarot, or has anyone taken a break from the tarot? And if so, how did you reconnect with the cards again? And before we open the floor up, I know that our lovely Jordan had posted a little while ago on the Tarot Readers Academy page about it's okay to take a break from the tarot, and it's okay, if you have life stuff that comes up or whatever, for whatever reason, you can always come back to it. So if anyone would like to share, if they have taken a break, and this is not a judgmental thing, we're just like maybe some ways to dip your toes back in, or like how we can reconnect with our cards or reconnect with ourselves, as someone who, for people who are like, now where do I start again?
I don't mind to kind of backpack on what I've already said, I guess. What I find is that sometimes you just know that you need a break, and sometimes it's kind of best. Tarot can give you some answers, and sometimes you don't need answers. Sometimes you just need to kind of have that blank canvas of life, or kind of have that blank room, or whatever visual representation you want to use, to just kind of feel free to explore again. And of course you can explain things to the tarot, and you can continue to understand how the tarot impacts your life, but that doesn't mean that I don't know, it's just about creating a relationship with it, just like anything else. It's just okay. It's just okay to take a break in those ways. And when you come back, especially, generally when we need a break, we need to go through some transformative thing. We need to change in some way, or something about our life needs to be let go, or we need to grab something else. So when you come back, you cannot try to come back as the same person, because you no longer are. So whatever then interests you differently, in a different way now, whether you've in that break, you've developed a love for a certain aesthetic or a certain artistic movement, or a different style of reading the tarot, or something else, kind of be open to that, kind of really be open to accepting how tarot can change, and how your view of tarot can change. And that can also help as far as how it fits into your life again. It doesn't have to be the same, and you don't have to idealize a time in which you read tarot the best, or a time in which tarot was the most important, or in which you think your readings were just fucking slamming all the time. Maybe they were, but we don't have to idealize some sort of pastime or anything like that. We can kind of where the rubber meets the road, so can the tarot, meet us on that same path, at that same place, at that same journey. Tarot will be a companion throughout our life. So therefore, let it change with you. Let your understanding of it change with you.
Yes. So with people who may be feeling as though they're a little bit frightened to kind of jump back in, I just asked for some clarification, but it's okay. Okay, so if we're worried about, and this actually there was another question about what do we do about negative, like fear of negative cards, and I've spoken about this before. But if you're taking a break and you come back and there are cards that are like negative or scary, one thing that there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, be very mindful of the way in which you're asking the cards the question. So I would be more along the lines of if I'm doing daily draws again, and I've had some big shit going on, or like I'm a little bit anxious. So I would want to phrase my question to the cards in a way that is empowering. So like, what is the best way to move forward, or how can I move into a more positive energy? And even if I get, the 9 of Swords or the 5 of Cups or the 3 of Swords or the 10 of Swords or whatever, like a card that's not necessarily positive, there are positive aspects to those negative cards. There is another side to the coin of those energies. One of them, like the 5 of Cups, it's like, well, you got to experience your emotions, heal, to feel, to deal, to kind of move forward, and acknowledge your pain, and that's a way forward. If it's the 10 of Swords, it's like, well, fantastic, shit can't get any worse. So the only way is up, baby. So I'm always looking at so I'm always looking at how I can do a more empowered thing about not staying, especially if you're dealing with anything that's like anxiety, or if you're feeling down or low, or what that kind of thing is. It's like you may not need to even not hold it down, but like give yourself something and use that tool to help you sort of see a different side of it, not like wallow in it maybe. And I'm not trying to not honor the way that mental illness can feel, because I had postpartum depression. I know what it feels like. But it's more just like being very specific about what you're asking the cards and how you're asking the cards to help you move forward. I don't know if that helped, but yeah. Anyone else?
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to tag on a few other things. Because specifically as a person who deals with anxiety as well, I have generalized anxiety and panic disorder. And so for me, it's also about getting into the mindset of the tarot is a tool for self-love, and really being committed to that, and being committed to that inner reading process with myself, especially if I'm giving the reading to myself. It's about doing that hard fucking work of self-love through the tarot, of saying, if there is, say I get, fuck it, it's like all terrible. It's the 10 of Wands and the 8 of Cups and death. Let's say it's all terrible. It's just shit. It's just a real shit show here. But I can still look at these cards and say, God damn it, I need to love myself through this. This is the whole point of it. So I need to love myself enough to get over this burden, and I need to love myself enough to let shit go. I need to love myself enough to heal this disappointment. You kind of can step into the space that, let me see about how I actually want to say this. When you step into the reading space and that reading mindset, that can also really affect where that reading go and what is bringing that up for you. If anxiety is just coming, and you can step into this reading space and say, not here, that's not what this is about. And that's not what these cards are for. That's not what this is about. And it's also about pushing through that too. It's real active bravery to do that, especially in the times of anxiety. And you continue to build strength, and you continue to do that as you're on that path with your mental illness and really loving yourself through your mental illness.
That's awesome. All of that was awesome. I'm anxiety over here as well. And I was going to add on to that too, like everything you just said was so poignant. The affirmations, like if you have an affirmation associated with the card or cards, you know, that tend to be negative, you know, that can help because it's like, yeah, 10 of Swords. Yep. The only way to go is up from here, you know, but like, what can your affirmation be for that? Like, okay, well, here we are. So then what is it? You know, maybe it's let it be done. Or, you know, if you can put, I mean, I don't mean to be all merry sunshine, but like if you can, like if you're anxiety driven, like some of us here are, you know, if you can help put that positive spin or like kind of change your mindset to say, okay, well, I'm going to use my affirmation, then that could be helpful. Sorry, somebody was trying to call me as I'm talking.
Always the best timing, right? Like, go away, Mom, I'm on the phone.
Yeah, but
Yeah, totally. And there's well, first of all, it's a nice confirmation here for anyone who's on the call or rewatching the replay that you are never alone. You are never, ever, 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 ever fucking alone with anxiety or depression or having a shit fucking time. We've all either been there, done that, doing that, got the shirt, got the mug, got the fucking chapstick, prove it. Like, you're never alone. So if you need to like reach out and know that there are amazing people in our community, and it can get better, and you just gotta like, because fucking mental illness is a tricky little shit, and it'll try to make you feel like you are alone and that there's no one else who feels your way or like can understand. Don't let it insulate you and isolate you. Find your tribe. Tricky little shit. Hashtag tricky little shit. You say, not today, Satan, not today. Do a Bianca Del Rio and sashay away.
Ellie lies. The lie.
Yeah, so if you're, I know we kind of got a little bit sidetracked, but I felt like that was important. So, yeah, affirmations are really, really great. Affirmations are fantastic for all of the cards if you have something that you can actually, you know, embody and use that as a mantra, and just even shifting it. And if you have to walk away from it, then go find, like, if it's not tarot, go find an oracle deck maybe, or something like the feminine healing cards, or like there's some really pretty ones. You know, find something that's maybe a bit gentler. Oh my God, there needs to be a drag tarot. I would buy that in about 15 seconds flat. So yeah, so maybe something a little bit gentler would definitely be the way forward too. Yeah. I know we did go down a little bit of a rabbit hole. Yeah, so a mantra per day, as in something aspirational, workable per each card. If you did say a single draw, yeah, for sure. Like if you did a draw a day and you had the three of swords, which is crap, then you can, you know, use something like I feel to heal to deal, or something like that, so that you're moving along with it. You're not allowing yourself to get stuck. And at times it can be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forwards, 4 steps back. It's like, it's not a straight line, and you just got to love and support yourself through that however you can. And if tarot is a tool that you choose to use in that way, then, you know, use it in a loving and respecting place. So I think we've, yeah.
Also, if I may just say, get a reading. Like, if you're really worried about it, if you have the money, get a reading. That might help.
Oh, you know, or ask someone on Free Reading Friday. That's why we got that thing. That's why we got that thing. That's why we do that thing. Okay, it's like, honestly, it must be the witching hour if you know I'm doing this. Can you imagine if someone just like started the replay and got to that point and there's just a weirdo going like this? That'd be a very quick dislike button.
I disagree. That would make me want to watch even more. I think it could work in your favor. For sure.
I'm a very silly individual.
I love it.
Okay, so any other questions? I think we've probably got time for one more before I got to get my hot little self ready for putting my little guy to bed.
Hey, so I'm looking for songs for all of the cards, right? So the Three of Cups started me on it because the Three of Cups is I get by with a little help from my friends, right?
Oh, nice.
I'm on it. I've got it. I'm doing the same thing. We should definitely talk.
We should talk because what I'm doing is because I got this new Druidcraft deck, which I'm just in love with. So because it's different and the symbols are much richer, even though it's Rider-Waite based, I'm using these little like card books that you get from the dollar store to write out my thoughts for each card. Now I was thinking, well, why don't I put music with them? So that's what I'm looking for. So we should talk, Leah.
Good. I have a little notebook. Like I'll be in my car, I'll be listening to a song, and I'll be like, "Oh my God, that's Four of Cups," and I'll write it down. And my goal is to, because I'm a little, is to have like a playlist for each of the cards. That's a lot of songs. I'm aware of that. But I have started a playlist for a lot of the cards. I mean, and it's in no particular order. It's just as it resonates with me.
Yeah, there's only 78.
Like Led Zeppelin is totally tarot.
Well, Led Zeppelin has literally got tarot in some of their artwork. So
yes,
yes. You've given yourself homework because I want, within 10 minutes this over, someone to create a document in the Readers Academy Facebook group so we can make a playlist, so we can put
I've got it.
Okay, Leah, you do it and I'll put some
and then we can all do it like a community thing where we can add our songs, because I've got some rip snorters to be putting on there.
Yeah.
And if we can associate them with a specific card, even better.
That's what I do. That's what I do. And now it's actually to the point, you know what started it? And I don't claim to be a medium or psychic or anything. I'm fascinated by those of you who have that ability. But like I'll hear songs sometimes, like if I'm reading for someone, I'll just start, hey, do you know that song? like I'll tell the person, do you know that one song? That's like this. And they'll be like, so, I'm happy to share whatever I have.
Like I'm getting right now, you know that song, Say Something, whatever it is? Yeah, Jamie knows which song I mean. It's like, what card does that one go with? Because it really deserves to be going with a card. Jamie, what is the name of that song? Yeah.
That's devastatingly sad when say something, I'm giving up.
That's the one. It's like, that is like, I know, it kills me.
Ouch.
What a great idea, Anthony. I think it'll be charming and really cool.
Yeah, it's a great idea because a lot of us have, like for me, the Eight of Cups, and I even sing this in the certification course, is walking away. I'm walking away.
Yes.
From the trouble in my life, I'm walking away. or Irreplaceable by Beyonce. To the left. See you later, loser. Like, it'd be so good to have everyone like putting whatever they want on there, and we can do that as a community. That'd be sickening.
I think that's brilliant. That's just really brilliant. But it's just something I've been tossing around and sort of putting around. But together, I think we can do something amazing.
And I'm sure we're all going to find some music we've never even heard of before, which is going to be even better.
Yeah, I've got one for the Fool. I don't know if you guys know Lord Huron at all, but now I've forgotten the name of the song. But it's I knew I was going to do that. I got excited and then I lost my train of thought. But there's a song I have for the Fool called I'll think of it. I'm sorry. I'm stuttering, but it's by Lord Huron and it's totally the Fool. I just can't think of the name of the song. It goes, say you will, come and follow me. It's awesome. I'll put it up. I have to figure out how to do all that and get it to you all. But yes, for sure.
It's really easy. If all you need to do is just go into the Facebook group and then go to files and then create one. And then as long as you put any member can edit, then everyone can go in and add their own, like their YouTube, the YouTube link, and that way, yeah, then we can, and then I'll put, once we've got a few, I can even do a Spotify playlist as well. So
rock, literally.
Yeah, we can rock out to the tarot. Yeah, cool. All right, that's it.
It'll make learning the tarot easier.
Totally.
I think it will certainly, yeah, and it will probably, we may not all associate something to something, but that's cool too, because like there might be a specific lyric or like a couple of lyrics in one of the songs that really like triggers it. But yes, Joshua, it creates context for people. Yes. All right, my loves, that's time. We have jammed it out for January. Boom, boom, boom. Thank you so much to everyone who shared and joined us and listened and held space and was like amazing. It was so good to see you all. We're gonna be doing them every month this year as well. Let me know if you're gonna be at Northwest Tarot Symposium so we can hang. I'll see you all very soon. And I want to see that playlist. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.